All right. Welcome to Movie Lover 22. It's been a while. But you know what? Sometimes you just got to do the thing. I don't think I can say do the do. We'll leave it in. Who gives a shit? Nothing's going to happen. Anyway, I just saw Longlegs the other night, and I have thoughts on it, bro. Like, I needed to talk about this one. I had seen a trailer for it. And the thing is, I really don't see a lot of trailers nowadays. I think most movies look like shit. But on happenstance, I had seen this video. It just came across my YouTube recommended. And it was this guy talking about the scariest trailer he's seen in a long time. And the image on it was of this dark silhouette, like a hooded figure kind of thing in a living room. And it was creepy as hell. So I watched his video, and he sold me on the movie before I even knew a trailer, because he included a little mini trailer inside of it. So I was like, hey, I'm going to add this to my watch list. And that was probably 2 months ago or so, maybe 3 months. And then it came out this week, and me and a friend went to go see it. And I was excited about it. Obviously, I went to go see it. But one of the things that also sold me on it was the inclusion of Micah Monroe as the main character. I love It Follows. I think The Watcher was a really good movie. And so Micah Monroe was a big selling point for me. I think she needs to be in more things, and I'm glad that she was in a movie with such a high profile as this one. But anyway, Longlegs, anyway, is directed by Osgood Perkins, who's the son of Anthony Perkins, which honestly to me is nothing more than a fun fact. Great, good for you. There's nothing to suggest that genetics guarantee talent, except nepotism. Like, I want your work to speak for itself, and this is the only film of Oz's that I've seen. So anyway, overall, the movie was pretty good. I liked it. Where the movie really, really shines is tone and atmosphere. There are lots of great moments of cinematography and framing, as well as with the look of the film, with the color grading, the angles, the lenses used. There's a lot of wide angle lenses. And there's this sense of dread and paranoia and anxiety that permeate the entire film. And it really does it justice. I think the movie is a great success there. The movie also has a heavy spiritual element. The main character has feelings, like it's the Force or something in the first 10 minutes of the film that lead to significant moments to move the plot forward. And it doesn't feel cheap or anything. Like, it happens so early in the movie, and I think it's done so well, and it's validated very fast, that I think really, really sell it there. And then I found out Nic Cage was in this movie. I didn't know that until a month or so before the movie came out, and part of me wishes I never found out. Not that the opening, nor that the opening credits say Nic Cage as Longlegs. I didn't need that. Nic Cage is fantastic and terrifying, but there's a Venn diagram of Cage being crazy funny and Cage being crazy scary, and this movie at times sits in the middle. I was unsettled by his performance for sure. I was unsettled by most of the movie, but Cage shines in that realm. But there were an equal number of times that I was unsettled and also had to keep from laughing, because I could only think, hey, that's Nic Cage and he's doing Nic Cage. And I was in the theater I was in was at least half full, and I was conscious of not wanting to ruin someone else's movie. It was just a couple of us. I probably would have burst out laughing because I'm sorry you don't see the movie the same way I do, but this time I decided not to, especially because I was with someone I knew, so I didn't want to affect their movie watching experience. All that to say, the issue is not with Nicolas Cage's performance. It is his reputation. We have Nicolas Cage is weird and crazy. We've been talking about that for 30 years. And what didn't help me was days before I went to go see Longlegs, I watched Community all the way through, and I got to the episode where they have to watch Nicolas Cage movies. So I had Abed doing his Nic Cage impression, and then like 2-3 days later, I'm watching Nic Cage kind of do that at times, which did not help. But we're going to get into spoiler territory because it's hard to talk about movies without spoiling them. And you opted to click on this episode. So here we go. Spoilers. 3, 2, 1. The film sets up Lee's psychic sensitivity and the spiritual sense from the start, showing us her gifts, how she could be crucial to solving the Longlegs murders, which I thought was done pretty well. But there are a few plot moments that I thought were silly. Because we're not shown that Lee is a bad FBI agent. The film wants us to think that she's a good FBI agent, on top of at least being a little bit psychic. But then there are moments where, like, Longlegs shows up at her house, leaves her a birthday card, and Lee sees him, chases him, but the moment she finds the card, she just gives up on looking for him. Like, at what? Why? You just saw him. Like, she sits down, opens the card, and a moment later, she hears creaking floorboards not that far away from her. But she just keeps looking at the card. Like, wouldn't you want to inspect that noise? You have proof that a serial killer who's been active for 30 years was in your house less than 2 minutes ago, and you're not looking for him. You're not calling your boss at the FBI and getting backup. And you don't even mention this for the rest of the movie. There's even a point where her boss asks her, "Is there something you're not telling me?" And instead of owning up to this thing she's hiding for no reason, she instead goes to visit her mom and has a cryptic encounter with her there. The character of Lee is presented as a socially awkward but competent agent, which is totally fine. But then we have bullshit like this, and if she had spoken up about her actual close encounter with Longlegs, the film would have progressed very differently. Instead, the next scene we get is the FBI discovering another murder scene, which was a month old. She even decrypts the cipher on the card at this new murder scene the moment she sees it, because Longlegs left a part of a solved cipher on the card he left for her, and she doesn't explain that that's how she solved it. If I were her boss, I'd immediately wonder if she's somehow in on it. But no, go on and talk to your mom and see if she has something to say about this weird shit. Along with the marketing of the movie, in the marketing, they elected not to talk about Nic Cage, like, at all. We all found out quite a bit later, which I thought was a great decision. And in the movie, Nic Cage initially is hidden pretty well. Like, his introductory scene, the framing is of like the middle of his body, and it cuts off right above his mouth. Like, you see a little bit of his nose, and that, I think, is a great decision. And to the point, like, they really wanted to sell Nic Cage looks fucking weird in this movie. There's even some advertising that they did where they highlight Micah Monroe's heartbeat, apparently, because it's not in the movie, but apparently the first time she saw Nic Cage in his full makeup, her heart rate went up to like 170 beats per minute, according to the ad. Great ad. So I was expecting to not see Nic Cage for most of the movie. Now, like, not like showing his face. But we wind up seeing good chunks of his face, like within the first 10-15 minutes. You know, like, he's still kind of hidden, but you see like a third or a half of his face at times, and I didn't want that. Like, don't show him to me until way near the end. Kind of like Alien. Like, don't show me the monster yet. Not yet. I thought that was a mistake. I could have done without seeing him and just letting my mind have anxiety and fill in the gaps where I wasn't getting anything. We find out that in the original murders, the child survived because she wasn't home and is catatonic in a mental institution all these years later. And the main character, Lee, and her boss go visit after they investigate the property where her family lived. And they find a doll that is in her likeness. And inside is like a little metallic ball that reminded me of Phantasm a little bit. It apparently makes a kind of droning sound if you put a little sonogram device up to it. And then they find out that day she came out of that catatonic state when they found the doll. And so they go to visit her. And they find out Longlegs came to visit her around that same time. And the girl not only is a little off-putting, but says she would do anything for Longlegs, including commit suicide. And that is, and she like, even if that man told me to kill you, man, I would just do anything. And that's fine. I'm on board with that. However, why did Longlegs visit her? There's nothing to suggest that would be a good visit for her. When Longlegs is caught, he's in the interrogation room. After that, they find out that the girl from the original murder did kill herself. So what was the point? And here's why I bring it up. The murders all took place on the birthday of that child. All a certain number of days in relation to the 14th of that month. And Lee, with her, I guess, neurodivergent brain, lays out the days of each murder in a way that she's able to identify a pattern of an upside-down triangle with one day missing, making the triangle incomplete. Clearly identifying that day as like the next murder to take place to finish what you can only assume to be a ritual. And moments like that were interesting, propelled the story forward. But that so there were kids who were murdered on like the 12th, the 13th, the 14th, the 18th, whatever. All these days in relation to the 14th being like the center point or whatever. And the girl from the original murder was supposed to be, I think, the 13th or something. When they interview Longlegs, that like there's that one missing day, and then you find out that girl kills herself, which, as if my memory serves, was the missing day. Therefore, the triangle is complete. So, at that point, the movie should like really be at the climax, but it's not. It's not. And you find out Lee was going to be the original victim, which partially doesn't make any sense because every single of the following murders were families with both parents and a child, and Lee's dad is not mentioned at all. But Lee's mom, Ruth, confronts Longlegs, makes a deal for Lee's life, and in exchange, Longlegs fucking moves into the basement and makes his demon dolls. And how this works is Ruth delivers the dolls to the families that are the devil's victims. Ruth becomes a heroin addict and does everything in her power to forget and keep this a secret from Lee throughout her life. But as we approach the climax and Lee tells her mom that Longlegs is dead, Ruth, when this happens, is standing outside with a double barrel pointed at the doll that was meant for Lee. And Lee is like, he's dead. Longlegs is dead. What's going on? And Ruth says, he's free. Now you're free. And then kills Lee's devil doll that was latched to her. And then Lee passes out because there's like a mist that leaves the doll. Like the spiritual essence dissipates. And Lee passes out. And when she wakes up, we're still not done. This is where it does not make much sense for me. I'm totally fine with the devil doll thing. That's cool, whatever. But I don't know what Lee's mom meant by that. When Lee wakes up, she races to the birthday party of her boss's daughter, where she got invited early in the movie, where her mom is already there with the devil doll already unwrapped, and her boss is moments away from killing his family. So then, who exactly is free? Is it Lee? Is it you? Is it Longlegs? I guess it's Longlegs, but I don't know why he killed himself in the interrogation room. It can't be Lee, because Ruth only helped Longlegs to spare her life, but if Longlegs is dead, then Ruth wouldn't be needing to carry out the next set of murders, right? Because also, that other girl from the original murder killed herself, which would have completed the ritual or whatever, right? And because Lee also, I'm pretty sure, had the same birthday, and this other girl, who's the party they're at right now, has the same birthday. So if one of them already died to complete that, is it not then complete? And it's not Ruth either that's free, because she fucking dies in the middle of it because she is so determined to carry out this next murder. I have no idea why this sequence happens except to give us a break in the drama for Lee to pass out, wake up without her gun, and discover that Longlegs lived in the basement, even though we already noticed his car under the tarp in the garage, and then get a phantom phone call telling her where to go next. I also discovered some lore out there about pictures being able to contain part of a soul, and Lee has a picture, a Polaroid of Longlegs. That also was mildly interesting, but I heard about it by accident through another YouTube video. And lore that is important to the world building of a film that's only found outside of the film, I think, is a disservice to the fans. If it's open to interpretation, that's great. I love when a film doesn't spell everything out for its audience. But to explain it only in another format is irritating and almost seems like gatekeeping. Even with those things, I still enjoyed the movie. It's not my favorite creepy horror movie, but it definitely hit a lot of right notes for me. I was a little tired going into the theater and yawned a bit, but this movie held my attention the whole time. And the perspective from the wide-angle lenses used, combined with keeping a lot of stuff in focus outside of the foreground, really gave me a sense of paranoia and anxiety, making sure I was looking at the whole frame a lot of the time, trying to see what I might be missing. And there was plenty to see with disappearing figures in the dark. I know it sounds like I didn't like this movie, but these are all things that simply came to my mind to question some of the events in a movie that didn't spoon feed me, which I prefer. I like having questions, even if some of the things are beyond my understanding. Or maybe I disagree with a movie that didn't follow my expectations. I like that. I'm glad I saw this very fucking creepy movie in the theaters, as clearly a throwback to the crime thrillers of the 90s like Seven and Silence of the Lambs. While those are arguably better laid out and delivered in their own way, Longlegs might be in a league of its own because I don't know if I have much else to compare to with how creepy it is. It really nails down its tone and atmosphere and how terrifying Nic Cage is. Longlegs isn't the scariest movie, let alone the scariest movie of the year, and it's unwise and inaccurate to say it, I think. While it's very creepy, and the tone is consistently unsettling throughout the entire movie, and I'd partially characterize many scary movies as being good by how well they stick in my mind, and if the subject matter is frightening, it's not the scariest movie, but it succeeds in similar ways that It Follows succeeds. However, It Follows is a less complex movie and therefore has less to explain. But at this time, I think I'd say Longlegs is a more effective movie since It Follows relies so heavily on the music and underlying anxiety of being followed, and Longlegs not only has effective music that drones at times with its own anxiety, but displays a better use of tone with its cinematography and pacing. Even if it was the scariest movie of 2024, this is not a high bar to reach. American horror movies are largely underwhelming and pretty shit, and you really have to go to the European film releases to find better stock. Anyway, overall, I like this movie. It is a 6 out of 10, maybe 7 out of 10. Go follow my Letterboxd account, Movie Lover Show, where I update every movie that I watch. And you can send me emails at movielovershow@gmail.com and tell me how full of shit I am, because I know some of you might want to. Anyway, bye.